Warnings of a pending disaster. An eruption in Icelandic volcanoes could mark the beginning of a volcanic period that will last for several centuries. And we already have that going on in the Grindavik area. In Reykjavik, the magnitude 5 earthquake rocked Iceland recently. Strong earthquake that hit Reykjavik's peninsula and was felt in many parts of Sigurnus and the metropolitan areas southwest of the corner of the country. Its source was located at a depth of more than 6.6 kilometers and east-southeast of Fagradalsfjall. And three other earthquakes, 3 magnitude 3.1, 3.3, occurred at night. The first shortly before 1:30, another 2 and 7 minutes later. Thus, seismic activity increased again after a slight decrease in the last hour before midnight. Significant seismic activity observed in the area until about 11 p.m. Saturday, and 24 magnitude 3 and higher earthquakes recorded yesterday from midnight to midnight, they said. But seismic activity during the night over the past 24 hours had been almost entirely confined to Fagradalsfjall and its immediate surroundings. Representatives of the Civil Protection Office of the National Police Commissioner, the Meteorological Office, the police in Sigurnus and Grindavik gathered for emergency meetings at 3:30 due to earthquakes that struck at night. But it's argued that earthquakes are most likely the result of stress changes in the Earth's crust, not magma displacement, and therefore they are not considered to be a short-term of an eruption. Iceland froze in anticipation. The question is not whether the volcano will erupt or not. The only question is when it will erupt. The beginning of the Little Ice Age. A recent article by Icelandic scientists described the historic period of volcanic eruptions in Iceland is interesting because the last time Icelandic volcanoes became active, it coincided with the beginning of the Little Ice Age. If an eruption occurs, it's likely to mark the beginning of a volcanic period that will last for several centuries, Magnus B. Sigurgeirsson said. He's a geologist at ISOR, Iceland Geosurvey, a consulting and research institute for geothermal sciences and utilities. And research shows that during the second half of the Holocene, a term used to describe the period that began about 11,700 years ago, volcanic systems on Reykjanes Peninsula erupted every 900 to 1,100 years. Less is known about the first part of the Holocene. Each period of eruption seems to have lasted for about 500 years, during which time most volcanic systems appear to have been active, although usually not simultaneously. Volcanic activity is characterized by eruptions, each of which last for several decades. Lava flows from volcanic fissures, which can be up to 12 kilometers long. It's roughly defined as the period from the 16th to the 19th centuries, but some experts prefer an alternative period from 1300 to about 1850. Scientists have noted that 3 particularly cold periods, one began around 1650, another around 1770, and the last one in 1850, all separated by intervals of slight warming. Cases of slight warming are similar to many of what we see in our time, and that are mistakenly introduced to the masses under the slogan global warming, quote unquote. The medieval warm period, MWP, also known as the medieval climate optimum or medieval climate anomaly, was a warm climate period in the North Atlantic region that lasted from 950 to 1250 AD. This was likely during the warming elsewhere, while some other regions were colder, such as the tropical Pacific. Average global temperatures are estimated to be similar to warming in the early mid-20th century. Possible causes of the medieval warm period include increased solar activity, decreased volcanic activity, and changes in ocean circulation. And as we can see, this medieval period could have ended with something like a break in global warming for 18 years before the world got a little colder. For the reasons not related to science, but rather only to politics, today those who rule the world refuse to admit that the climate is measured by trends of decades, centuries, and geological eras, and not by weather reports for a couple of years only. The eruption of volcanoes in Iceland will mark the beginning of the global cooling era, so prepare holiday banners with the World Hello Ice Age. Please leave your comments and thank you for your support. This is on Solask. Finally, support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.